Hello, and hello everybody. Welcome back for another episode, If Not Now Wen. In today's show, I am super excited to welcome my longtime friend, Lucas, to join us today. Lucas have over 25 years in the tech sector. His expertise ranging from cybersecurity, devops, apps modernization, human capacity scalability. And Lucas became an accidental entrepreneur back in 2020. That's when he started Infinite Range. Today, they specialize in helping clients to activate, deploy, and optimize the software securely. Additionally, Lucas also serves as an advisory member for VMware Tanzu, collaborate with the leadership from channel partner organizations to explore and validate the Tanzu's vision and direction. With that, everybody, I am super excited. Please join me to welcome Lucas to the show. Well, Lucas, I am so honored to have you join us today. So tell us, how does all the magic begin for you?
It started in the middle of nowhere in Ohio. I was born to a truck driver and a school teacher in a town that had 200 people, and that was 5 miles from my house. So I lived at the end of the dirt road, take a left, and then keep going for a little ways. Yeah, it was a very different time, a very different place than where we are today, and some of the conversations that we're a part of, and I'm a part of today. So the journey has been a lot of different cultures, different people, different ideas, different technologies, different things that it all weaves into a pretty cool story.
So what's it like growing up in a tiny little town in Ohio?
So it was actually really rewarding. Lived in the same tiny little house until I went to college. And my graduating class in high school was 92 people, and that was 3 towns put together. So everybody knew everybody. Everybody had grown up with everybody. I think we had 3 people, maybe 4, that I didn't go to elementary school with out of everybody. So
I have 18 classes in my high school. Each class about 70 kids.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people in China. But please continue. Wow.
So, I was born and very gifted athletically, dealt with some things as a kid. I was in a pretty bad accident when I was 13 and broke, what was it? I think it was like 20 bones, and was in a coma for a little while. And
how was that accident impacting who you are?
It really taught resiliency. There is an ideation that when, something happens, it's about how you respond to it. And so, I was 13 years old. Mm-hmm. Had been starting quarterback, was a pitcher in baseball, played starting on the basketball team.
Wow, you start everywhere, all teams.
Yeah, I was kind of the athlete of our school.
And that was your identity, who you are, what you're good at, how you share your gift to the world. Yeah,
it was a blend of that, and then I was part of the academic teams. So, I competed in state history competitions and was part of some academic kind of advancement type of groups, we'll call it.
You got all the world.
Yeah, and then a car hit me doing about 70 miles an hour, and that changed some things. So all of those items that you take for granted, that as a child, when you're more athletic than other children, when you're not, all of a sudden you're not, to your point, that identity goes away, part of your identity. And at that point, I was told you can either, stop and focus on, your academics, or it's going to take a lot of rehab, and it's going to take a lot of work and effort to get back to where you were. So for a solid 6 months, every day at 5 a.m. when other kids were sleeping, I was in physical therapy at the school with our trainer, learning how to walk again and learning how to do the things that I used to do. And then by the end of the year, or 6 months later, I actually ended up starting on the basketball team again.
What?
So
That's insane.
Yeah.
From not able to walk to in 6 months play the sport again?
Yeah.
That sounds nearly impossible.
It was supposed to be, but you work.
What's in your mind when did you set that goal?
It was learning to set goals at that time. That was part of what taught me is, okay, well, you start with what today we call a BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal. And that's kind of put in the mindset of a business person today. And then you work backwards from there and you put the steps in place. Well, I had started quarterback the year before. I wasn't going to get to play football. So what could I do became the question. Not what can I do, but what could I do? And then, okay, what do I want to do? And what are the steps I need to get there? And thinking through that, learning how to do that was something that really, it kind of set who I was.
I'm just so inspired by that because I imagine there's so much pain physically and emotionally in those moments, right? If you want to have a moment to yourself, everyone will understand. But instead, you make a tough choice. Instead of thinking what I cannot do anymore, what I lost, instead focus on what can I do. And then from that moment, from not able to walk, hit by a big truck to in 6 months, play the sport again. That's unheard.
It's a lot of what that taught me as well is people want to help you, but you have to help yourself first.
I agree. I love that. I tell people, universe always got you back, but you need to get yourself back first.
That's right. It's a fine balance. It's because in doing good for others, generally that's paid back 10 times over in ways you'll never expect. And if you do too much right at the sacrifice of yourself, then the people who around you rely on you. Then they become at risk. And so it becomes about what's important to you and then balancing between being kind and doing the right thing. Sometimes those two things don't always align and you have to find that balance over the course of your life.
Thoughtful. I love that.
So
what happened from there? Now you back in the sporting.
Yeah. What's
next chapter for you?
So I, at that point, decided I didn't want to be in Ohio anymore. It was too cold. I did not like the cold. And so applied to a couple universities and was automatically given an entrance to Arizona State. So going from one of the coldest places in the United States near Cleveland, Ohio, to some place where it gets to 120 in the summer and your flip-flops melt on the sidewalk. So it was a very big change, but it at that point had started to align with who I had become as a person, which was follow your dream, follow what you're going to do, don't ask questions, and just keep going and don't be afraid because you've already overcome something that most will not overcome. So whatever they throw at you, you're going to be okay, and you develop that confidence as you get a win. One of my favorite books is there is a Admiral David McRaven. Admiral McRaven. That's not David. But anyway, it's called Make Your Bed. And it really was one of those books that transformed me. It was a speech he gave to University of Texas graduating class in 2013. And it starts with, what can you do? So every morning when you get up, if you have a habit of making your bed, that starts the day with a success. And then you build from that success. So, I've gone through some more injuries and things like that and got to a point where I couldn't do a whole lot.
Another injury? Sorry.
Yeah, I've had a lot.
After you arriving
19
Arizona?
years in the ER straight.
Like an accident?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
wow.
So,
I'm sorry to
car
hear that.
accidents and things like that. Yeah.
You were in the cards.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, I'm sorry to hear that. But I do remember one story that's very touching to me is this one moment you speak about how you literally couldn't do anything. And speaking about making it bad, you speak about how you start with 1 water a day. Tell us that story.
Yeah, that's so fast forward 20 years. We'll call it 16, 17. I had 4 ankle surgeries at that point. I have cadaver ligament, so dead person ligaments in my ankle. I call it my zombie ankle. And they replaced torn ligaments and tendons that I had. And at that time, I had put on quite a bit of weight, almost like 80 pounds. And so after that ankle surgery, I couldn't put my ankle below my heart for a little while to keep the pain out for about a week, and getting up to go to the restroom and stuff like that. That's about it. And the thing that I was thinking back to that book, and I couldn't get up, I couldn't make my bed, I couldn't do any of that. But it came back to that 13-year-old me in my head. It was, what can you do? So I really started to lean into discipline. How do I hold myself accountable to that type of growth like I used to when I would accomplish all of these things? And I realized at that point, if I wrote out what I was going to do every morning for a week, and I just said, I'm going to do these 6 things or these 7 things every morning, and if I do them, I have been successful.
So you redefined what success meant for you, and you hold yourself accountable to achieving that.
That's right. So how small could I make it? I am going to, when I wake up, within 5 minutes, take a drink of water. That was my goal. And I know how simple and small and silly it sounds, but those are ways that when I did that, I was like, okay, well, I did the thing I said I was going to do. So I can do more.
There's a power in that.
Yes. And that ideation, at the time, I was an executive at Manpower Group, and large $21 billion firm, and was running some very large accounts, and it was some very high stress. And then just one day, it was gone. We had a disagreement about the direction of the company. I left, and then I hurt my ankle, and I'm laying there, and I can't do the things.
What that to happen in the same time frame?
Yeah, it all happened all at once. So these things were occurring, and it just started to really make me think about what was going to be the thing that I wanted to say that I did and go do it.
What was the thing?
Well, over my career, I started in software, and I was running a business channel in Asia and Latin America. So every quarter at 23 years old, I would fly from Phoenix to Seoul, to Japan, to the Philippines, to Singapore, to Australia. And I would do that once a quarter. And meeting with business.
Cool.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah. 23-year-old with an expense account. It was a good time. But after that, I got married and had my first kid in 2006. So, 26 years old, first time dad, been married about a year and a half. And my wife made the joke, do you like traveling? And I was like, yes. And she was like, do you like being married? I said, yes. She goes, okay, pick one.
Oh my God. Angie's the best. That's a great question.
Yeah. And we're still married today. We'll be 20 years here in about 3 weeks.
When is your anniversary?
January 4th.
Wow, beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
She's definitely special.
Yeah.
So that moment you had to make a decision.
I had realized over the years that in working for large organizations or working for other people, I could make an impact, and I'd always done very well in sales, publicly traded firms. Twice, I think I was number 1 annually. But the thing that I got the most joy out of was doing business the right way and trying your best to be able to represent people to opportunities and connect them with work. And I realized that if I was working for somebody else, their what do you want to call it, priorities would not always align with doing the right thing. Are you going to make money or are you going to do the right thing? And I heard this quote from Michael Dell, and it still rattles in my head. The money is in the seams. So my business...
The money's in the seam.
In the seams. So like the seam between, like you're putting a Dell box together.
Okay. What does that mean when you say that?
Most people think that to make money, you have to solve some big, gigantic problem. One that, it's huge out
Changing
there.
the world.
Yeah, it's going to
Immediately.
change the world. Exactly. And what I started to see over and over again is that if you just change one little thing and you focus on doing that one little thing right, you're going to find that a lot of other people have that similar challenge. You might not know who they are. You might not even know it's a challenge when you start out. It's just something that bothered you. And you said, I want to fix that one thing. And then I'm going to feel better. And I'm going to feel fulfillment. And so it became that, am I chasing money now? No, I'm not chasing money. Am I chasing, am I trying to save the world? No, I'm trying to fix this one little problem. And that was the aha moment.
Just like when you made a bet, you are focused on that one water.
That's right.
One glass of water.
That's right.
And now you focus on this one issue, one problem you want to solve very well.
That's right. And so it became identifying what did I enjoy about the work that I had done for 15 years. A lot of introspection, a lot of thought. And then it became, if I had all the money in the world and I could fix one thing about what I had done that brought me joy, what would it be? And what I realized, we'll get into the career stuff in a minute, over the career, was that there is more work available than anybody could ever keep up with. And the challenge, as I recognized it, was that work requires multiple layers of legal and different things to get connected to by a person who can do the work. So if you're an engineer, for example, you want to work on a big brand and you want to do some engineering that, say Walmart, for example. I want to go work on a project at Walmart. Most people are like, I have to go apply at Walmart and I have to do work as an FTE for Walmart. And that's how I'm going to be able to put that on my resume. And I'm going to be able then to shop it around to other people. And that makes me more valuable because I have big experience in big enterprise developing with the biggest brand in the world. And the reality is that's not how it's done. Every major enterprise and government player on the planet has at least 20% of their workforce as contractors. Those people, many, it's much more. And what does that mean? If you go apply at Walmart in this example, you're going to be removed from those contractor opportunities, or you're not going to know where to look. So I said, well, if we just sign the people who are going to be delivering the engineering services to all the big enterprises in the government, and that we can provide them and connect them with people who want to be FTE, or we don't care. Recruiting for those professional services engagements will allow us to connect the people to the work, and then getting the work done will have a massive impact on the organizations, which can have a massive impact on the world. So I said, let's just find a way to connect the work to the people, however that needs to happen, and we will be that middle layer there. And then it becomes, how do you identify those people? How do you attract them to the work? Make them aware. Is it word of mouth? Is it branding? Is it a combination of all the things? And the answer is it's a combination, but it's built on the experience at the human level that people have when they're interacting with a brand. And that's what we decided to build. That was the moment, is that we're not going to change a brand that exists, that is all of it, that's known for creating a bad experience or a subpar experience, let's call it, for people who are trying to connect with work. If you're a consulting firm, your standards are through the roof when you're interviewing people, and the people who are doing the interviewing might not even know what they're talking about. So they're interviewing an engineer and they've never written a line of code in their life, and they're going to make the decision of whether that engineer gets the job. Doesn't make any sense. So we said, we'll just win those projects. And we'll have a group of people who are interested in becoming connected to that work. That's how it all started, was just solve that one problem. Find work, connect people to it. And then from that, it grew and scaled fairly quickly.
Wow, brilliant. Brilliantly said. So how was the entrepreneurship journey take you? Imagine in the past, I know that you even say yourself, you were an accidental entrepreneur. This is not really your plan, right? How was that journey for you?
Bring a helmet.
Give us more insight. What do you mean by that?
Everybody that has never been a founder or CEO thinks that the spoils and the riches and the things that are envisioned, all the shiny objects, everything like that, they feel like that is what being a founder and a CEO is. And
was it not?
The reality, my reality, maybe others have had it very different, not many that I've spoken with though, is that you have to be available. And if you want to be good at your work and be a good founder, you got to eat a lot of humble pie. Because you can fight till you're blue in the face to be right on a topic. But what does it get you? So I have thought I was right in many situations where my team starts off, they're like, no, you're wrong. And if you're not going to change your way, then we're out. And it can become very confrontational if you let it.
That's radical.
Oh, yeah. It's high stress situations. We deal in cybersecurity and we deal in high stakes, quick action type of things. And so the personalities generally that we work with are a little higher strung in many cases. So it's learning, how do you manage? How do you be a salesperson? How do you be a CMO? How do you be a CFO? And how do you be a CEO all in one day?
All those hats.
Yep. You move. You have to walk in from your perspective of, okay, how is this going to affect the business at a positive level, at a business level? And then you have to put your hat on and you say, okay, now that I think I know that after talking with a couple people, how is this going to impact our long-term financial plan? And what changes will need to be made to that? And then you have to think about, how is this going to affect our branding with our current customers as well as our new customers? Is this something we want to undertake in order to further our plan to grow? And then at the end of the day, you have to make a decision, and then you have to communicate that through to your team to help execute. So usually that's in an enterprise, that's 6 months, and that's multiple parties that have many meetings that argue and debate and come up with a plan that they think is best. And as an entrepreneur, you get about sometimes 20 minutes to go through that cycle. So it's different.
So what's your secret to surviving those moments?
Surround yourself with people who care. That if I could find one thing that is consistent of success or failure is one, nobody will ever care about your dream as much as you. Nobody.
Fair said.
Because it's your dream. Now, people may get excited and people may then take ownership of that dream and say, that dream is great and I want to be a part of it. And I'm willing to dedicate myself and I'm willing to put the time, I'm willing to put that effort in to go help accomplish that as a team. But it's not their dream. And as a founder, you think that everybody that sees your vision has that same passion. Well, at least I did. And that's not the case. They have the passion in you as the founder, as the visionary, as the person who can see angles that they're not able to see. And for me, it was, I thought they were looking at the same vision that I have built over 20 years of doing this type of thing and trying to solve the one problem. And it changed my leadership style, I think is the right way to say.
From what to what?
Always expecting that people will do what is right on behalf of the company versus what is right on behalf of them. So when you start to scale, and when you're real small, less than 5 people or 10 people, you're just, you're together, but you're able to talk openly. Like there's no hiding. There's no, like, you got a lot going on. People are very honest and open. There's not like, oh, I'm going to go talk to my boss. It's who do I see about that? And then as you start to pick up more business, you have to have a repeatable process, and you have to have a way to produce the experience of the customer that's consistent regardless of who is delivering it. Mm-hmm. So that brand becomes more important than the person. To make sure that that experience with the brand remains consistent, people have to be held and hold themselves to a line of accountability and process where it becomes more professional and more enterprise-like and more businessy, if you will. And so as that happens, that's a transition point in the business. And sometimes it's hard to make the adjustments of, well, I used to just do all these things. Now I actually have to talk with somebody else about it and make them aware and get their approval. And that transition can be hard as a leader because you want that personal connection that got you to where you are, but there has to be a change in the way the business is being run in order to continue growing. And so that understanding that, find out what's important to that person and don't assume it's the same vision that you have, and then find ways that your vision can help them be successful. Then that's when the magic happens. That's when people start to work together and they start to joke, and they're like, oh yeah, I know you like to go sing. Well, we're going to have this event and we're going to go sing, or we're going to go, I know you like to play basketball. We got tickets to the game tonight. You want to go? And it becomes this, hey, I need some help down the line on this. And you have those out of the office conversations because you're in more of a formal environment normally. And so you have to transition with that leadership style. And that's incredibly hard after you've gone through the intensity of, bootstrapping like I did.
Yeah. It's like you start your own business, and that's your beautiful baby, the child that you created. And then at one point, you have to let it go in order for it to scale and grow. It's almost like, metaphorically speaking, you were birthing a child that, say, infancy will require you constantly feeding, changing and such. But as a child growing to a teenager, now it's a different type of state required. And now you have to change your leadership and style to adapt in the different type of growth that company are experiencing.
Yep. And it's that thinking, and you and I have talked about this before, is, I opened it with what is start with the end in mind. I did it backwards. I set out with, I am going to prove that there's a better way to connect people with work, something that's never been done before. And then people would say, what's your exit plan? I was like, what do you mean? What's the exit plan? The exit plan is I'm going to win. And then I win. And that's not reality.
What's the reality?
The reality is, if you can't articulate your vision and the end of your vision and what good looks like to your team, to investors, to whoever you may be involved with, then in their minds, it comes up, at least in my experience, that it's just a dream. It's not a plan. Dreams are the start of plans, but it's not a plan. And people are trying to execute in the real world against a plan and not a dream. The dream is the inspiration. The plan is how we accomplish the goal. And so those two things need to be married together. And sometimes folks like myself are very confident in what they can do in a way of being overconfident. And you have to step back and say, where could this go wrong? I don't think it's going to go wrong, but if I identify the places where it could go wrong, then learning how to ask for help was the other new thing as a leader I had to do.
What was a biggest or most expensive mistake you ever made?
Working for somebody else. No.
But would you argue that, I hear you, we chuckle at that, but would you argue that is necessary though, as a stepping forward?
Not It depends on the challenge you're trying to solve. So each challenge is going to be personal to the person that's trying to solve it.
Fair.
The challenge I tried to solve was one that I felt that the enterprise customers and government customers were dealing with and didn't know about. So for me, working for other firms and larger firms and seeing how they addressed a challenge was paramount for me learning about how I could do it better.
So you learned a lesson there.
Now, mine, like I say, it's a B2B solution. It's something that took a lot of relationship building over many years that I was able to capitalize on those relationships and carry them forward and learn how to operate in the world that I operate in. I look at like Sam Altman, for example. He was with Looped when he started his career, and then he has gone on, and now he's OpenAI and all the fun stuff going on there. He didn't start out to solve AGI. He went to school. He thought he could solve a problem. He started a business. I think he exited, and then he makes his way over, and now he's running. And people think he's the savior of artificial intelligence and what's to come. He had his whole team, 700 people, say they were going to walk if they didn't bring him back as a CEO. Is Sam going to solve all the problems? No, his team's going to. And they believe in what he can do. But he didn't start off believing that he can do what he can do. It took those steps to get there. So, his journey's been very different than mine. But that personal journey is what allows you to mature. And sometimes the journey's shorter, sometimes it's longer. And then you deal with it.
Until last breath on earth.
That's it.
What is long, what is short, right?
That's right.
So since you started a company, I'm curious, what is the biggest lesson in that?
You asked me what was I should answer the question before. You asked me what was the most expensive mistake.
Yes.
Putting too much faith in what people said versus what they do. We've had a couple let me rephrase that. In my career, not just starting the business, I would put faith in what I would hear. And then if I saw actions that were counteractive to what I had heard, I assumed that the person was making a mistake and was not doing it out of any reason than they were. I always tried to have, positive in mind. And in many times, if I just would have listened to logic and made decisions with logic more than with emotion, those challenges would have never presented themselves. I would say, as an example, we had a subcontractor one time working for us. And in our agreements, you cannot go work for our customer in this subcontractor agreement that we have. And this firm, these people, there was a few of them, decided to try to go and take those customers and cut us out of all of the business after we had introduced them to complete a project. They also reached out to like AWS and some of these others that present us with a lot of revenue and are bigger customers of ours. And had I paid attention to what was being said to me and some of the information that I was finding and actioned on it, we may have been able to salvage, I'd put it at about 1.6, 1.7 in revenue billion.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was an expensive one.
Yeah. All because you're trusting and people don't always do what they said they would.
That's right. So
that must be tough.
It became learn, trust, but verify.
Someone else also told me that. That's very wise.
Trusting people is something that you should always listen to your gut.
Yeah.
And give people the opportunity to be right is kind of where my mindset always has been. prove me right. Prove me that you are the person I think you are, that you're a good person, and I'm going to give you opportunities to do so. And if you choose not to be that person, then that's okay. I'm putting that risk on the table knowing that could occur. If you do it twice, then it's really on me. And then I got to shut it down. And I used to give people third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances. And now after the second chance and you do the same thing twice, that it's going to be hard to get back in there. And it took me, like I say, about 1.6 to 2 million in revenue to learn that I know of.
Ouch. In my mind, I have this 3 strike out rule. If someone, did something, I'm going to give them the benefit of doubt. Second time, but after third time, for sure. And in Chinese word, we have this word called 破镜难圆. Almost like if I have a mirror, if I break it into pieces, now it's hard to put it back together.
Right.
Similarly to the trust, right? If we did those ill actions, over a certain period of time, doesn't matter what you say afterwards, it's not going to be back to the trust, the connection.
Trust is built over a period of usually months and years, and it can be gone in a single sentence in some situations.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Not easy. One thing that always strikes me, Lucas, about you is whether you speak about the mistrust, you speak about the things that occurred to you when you were young, or the illness and all the challenges, but you're always so calm and so speak as a matter of fact. How do you move over those challenges, setback, and not let it drain on you? How do you able to show up second day and wake up in the morning, still hold the same dream in your heart and still move forward, whether it's one glass of water at a time or whatever other action you choose to do?
There was kind of a monumental change after I had left with Manpower Group that allowed me to become much more positive than what had gotten me to where I was. So, in my career, there was a company called Agilon. They're part of the Adecco group. Agilon is Adecco is a $42 billion company, I think. And so I started at 25. I became their number 1 rep in 9 months. 110 people, finished number 1 in revenue that year with people who had been there 10 years, had
That's
customer
insane.
base. Then the next year, finished number 2 by about $15 in revenue. On I think it was a $10 million number or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So that competition was what drove me up through. I always wanted to compete. I never wanted a job where I wasn't paid on commission. I always wanted to be, reap the rewards of my effort.
You want to win.
I wanted to win. And when you keep winning, you're climbing a mountain. You are not laying on a playing field and, people are going to be your advocates and people are going to, when you climb a mountain, it becomes the old game, king of the mountain. And people are trying to take you off the top of the mountain so they can get on top of it. They want to win. Just maybe not as bad as you. Maybe they want to win more. You don't know. And for me, winning was what brought me joy. And then in 2018, I left Manpower, had this idea that there's a better way to do this. I had to start with what brings me joy. Aside from winning, I've got 2 kids, a beautiful wife. Yeah. I've got, I've been successful in business at this point, coming from this tiny farm town where I worked throwing hay bales at 9 years old. I drove a tractor down the road at 9 years old with hay bales behind me and then parked it and filled up a barn with hay. That was my job when I was 9. So, there's been this progression over the years. And then I get to this point and I'm like, man, I wonder what my son and my daughter think about me. Because I've never asked them. And, I was on the road all the time and I'd take them to these crazy events that I'd get invited to. I got to hang out with Michael Dell for a little bit at the golf tournament, just crazy people that I've gotten to meet. Rupert Murdoch's former CIO was my peer. those are people that most people will never get to talk to in their lives. And that was normal for me. But I didn't know what my own children thought of their dad as a person. And so I thought, well, what did I think of me as a person at this point? And that took 6 months of lots of painful truths, but you had to be very truthful with yourself. And I found that I got to see joy in my kids and what they got to experience, and people that generally found happiness when I would talk with them. That gave me joy. It wasn't the winning. It was just people finding relief when we would sit down and talk, whatever that was, even if it was about nothing. They just needed to talk for a minute. And I'm like, well, I can talk. that's one thing I can do. So it really pivoted to drive me, and to get up. What makes you get out of bed in the morning is one of my favorite interview questions I ask people. Everybody can lay in bed all day and rest and sleep, but like, what's that one thing that every day that makes you get up and say, yeah, I'm going to try again?
What's it for you, Lucas?
I feel like if you ask me today,
yes,
my son came downstairs the other day. It was probably 2 months ago. He said, Dad, I see you grinding every day. You're in the same spot, filling out your journal in the morning, having your coffee, 6 a.m. every day. And he was like, I just want you to know that's inspired me to work as hard as I have. And then this, just 3 weeks ago, they won state competition for Cedar Park High School, trumpet and color guard. And they go down and 5th state competition in a row they've won.
It's amazing.
And he's a senior this year.
Yeah.
And so I think about me going out at 18, and I wanted to prove the world wrong. I wanted to prove that this person from nowhere could become something, because there wasn't many people that made. I think there was 7 in my high school that went to college out of the 92, and there were 3 that graduated. And I was the only one that left the state. I think there was, well, let me rephrase, I think there was one other that left the state. And so, I got to that pinnacle. I was at the top of a multi-billion-dollar company. One of the top 10 people up there, VPGM, was all of these things, and I was unhappy as could be.
Why?
What was left? That was just one. I mean, when does it stop? When do you stop chasing?
Because you start the intention with you want to win.
Exactly.
So by doing that, you just keep propelled to next and next without a tangible thing to grasp.
That's right.
So what is the pivot for you from that moment of winning the world, but yeah, so feel a little empty inside, to what was the change for you?
For me, it was when I mentally turned into an entrepreneur. Because if I was winning, somebody else was setting the rules. And they were setting the game up so that even if I won, there was a lot
really
more
winning?
battles.
It's like a matrix, right? Who is really winning?
Well, it came as a salesperson. I would have a number thrown out in front of me, and then that was my target for the year. And let's say I hit that target in September, which happened quite a few times. Did I get rewarded by saying, hey, we're going to give you more money now that you've hit your target? We're not going to give you a new target. You can just, keep doing what you're doing, and then we'll have your next quota next year, and we'll set it accordingly, and we'll let you, celebrate your win. No, it's okay. Great job. Now let's say it was $5 million. Now get $7 million. So they would just add on. Now, did I make commission off of that additional? Yes. But I was exhausted.
Of course.
You work really hard to get to that point, and then your reward was more work.
Yeah. It's almost like now you are a little rabbit in that treadmill.
That's right.
The goal just keep advancing, and it's almost in the illusion of you achieving it, but you keep going.
That's
in,
right.
in the vague promise of something is out there that you are winning, but yet you are not. You just in a game.
That's right.
Look with yourself.
And there was, aside from that core group that I worked with, it's not like people were lining the streets to cheer my success. Like there was not anything there. And then I just thought, if I do good work, it brings me joy in the type of work that I do. I get to connect people to work. And then I thought, how can I connect more people to more work? And it was that aha moment that people, when they're appreciative, was really what made me feel good.
Mm.
And if I put out a positive energy to people when I talked with them, if I sat and complained about all the things that were either hurting on me or things that I were upset about, or this person did this to me and this, I'm projecting that energy that's stored up inside of me to that person. And if I expect them to absorb that energy and then give me back something positive, which is truly what will change the way that I feel, I'm setting myself up for failure.
100%.
I need to be able to talk with them and explain what's good in my life. What are the good things I'm seeing out in the world? And then see what they come back with.
Be the change we want to see in the world rather than put that ownership on others.
That's it. And it's hard, especially as an entrepreneur, because everybody's problem is your problem in your business.
Mm.
If there is a problem in your business, my favorite line I tell to my team, who should I see about that? And I ask myself that all the time. If they're having a problem, it's not getting solved, eventually it stops with me, because I have the ability to affect directly what's bothering them. But if I spend all my time thinking about everybody's challenges rather than compartmentalizing and being grateful for the challenges that are allowing me to learn how to change my approach on things, because I fail a lot. I fail every day. I say one of the biggest things you can learn as an entrepreneur is forgive yourself at the end of every day.
Oh, I love that.
Because you're going to have to. You're going to screw up a lot every day. You're going to say the wrong thing. Somebody's going to take it the wrong way. You're going to do something. You're going to sign a contract that just is not a good contract. You're going to do a lot that's going to be very wrong.
How do you forgive yourself? Was it easy?
No. No. People go to therapy for years to learn how to forgive themselves.
What's your trick?
I went to therapy for years. No, I did. It was one of the best experiences I could have done. But that discipline that I talked about learning. So I wake up every day somewhere between 4:30 and 4 and 5, we'll call it. I'm programmed to do that. I don't have an alarm. No matter when I go to bed, I wake, and I can go back to bed sometimes, but it's almost 95%. I'm up. And then what is my process when I wake up?
Tell us about your morning routine.
So
pretty impressive.
I wake up and go into my office, and I've got a beanbag that is laid out, and I have my binaural beats. And I go and I do a 30-minute to 60-minute meditation every morning.
You lay there and you have the beats on your ear?
Yep, my AirPods in, and I play binaural beats so that it's kind of scrambles my brain. Because when I wake up, that's me personally when I am most active in my head. Like the stuff, I've had sleep, and now the brain's like, all right, come on, get up, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And so by sitting there and kind of letting that process, the next step is I go out, I drink a glass of water, and then I make a cup of coffee and a bagel every morning. And then I sit down and I have a journal. It's right over there. Write out, it's called the Best Self Journal. Cannot recommend it more for anybody. And I have my notebook, and I write down whatever is in my head at that moment. Just bullets. And I'll put usually it fills up about a page. And then I turn those into what are the actions I need to take today? And then what do I need to delegate? Because they're generally, I like to do things, so I have to really force myself to delegate. And set 3 targets for the day. and I enter those in my journal, and then I time block out my calendar with what's in there. I hand write it out, write the tasks over on the right side that didn't make it into the top 3. And then I've got my day planned. Now, that day plan the best made plans, as they like to say. It's probably going to change. But what I keep coming back to throughout the day is that I get the 3 core things done that I deemed as success for the day. And so after I get done with all of that, it's about 7 o'clock. I go through my emails, make sure that I got those sent off, and go through my texts and my Slacks and all the pieces. And then I drive the kids to school. Sometimes my son's been driving. So, but that morning routine of that 3-hour period where I'm allowing my brain to process what happened the day before allows me to emotionally feel those things as well that I had to compartmentalize throughout the day, because you don't get to react to what people say. If you do, you're probably going to be upsetting them in some way, shape, or form. They're looking to you as the leader. So you have to be able to have some sort of emotional release. And it's very key to say emotional. Some people, they think physically, and they do that, and then they can feel better. But having that control over your emotions starts with feeling them. An emotion is temporary. You let it pass. You feel it and you let it pass. And that period in the morning is when I do that.
Was it when you in the bed, or were you journaling? When do you
All of
feel
the above. That's when my brain should. So getting the beats and meditating is where I just let the thoughts kind of appear and start to feel the reaction that I have to those thoughts.
Oh, so you kind of play that in your mind, allow them.
Yeah. When this person, I can basically play it like a recorder in my head of what was said the day before. And when I was in that conversation, I was CEO Lucas. And I was the person who simply had to observe and not absorb. In that morning time, replay the conversation, and I let myself feel the emotions that would have been going on in that conversation had I not compartmentalized. And sometimes, I'll end up crying. I'll wake up, come out of the snap, and I got tears running down my face. But then that tells me, okay, well, what actions do I need to take? Because now that I've felt that, now that I can look at this logically and figure out what is the best solution for the challenge at hand, I go out and I write those down and then prioritize them, put them into a plan for the day, and go.
I think it's so not only healthy, but courageous for, again, from outside, you are a very successful CEO, a male figure, where oftentimes I think in society, we don't talk about feelings or emotions. And one thing I definitely admired so much about you is, use your word that even kill that temperament, wherever the storm hit you. And I love that you just have such a discipline to allow yourself play different role accordingly, and still allow yourself being a human, but having a process to support that.
I was very quick to react for my whole life, and I still have a challenge. Like I'm told I think very quickly.
You really are.
And my investor that we're working with is told me last night. He's like, "You are a 500-mile-an-hour bullet train that needs to slow down a little bit every now and then, but I don't want to tell you to slow down because you're doing great." That appearance of a 500-mile-an-hour bullet train, it comes from that discipline. Some days I don't feel like reaching out to these customers that I know are going to be difficult. And I don't feel like getting on the priority meeting with my team because it's going to be a lot of job. I've had a long day. I don't want to deal with it. But the discipline has taught me, if you deal with it, unexpected positive things may come out of that.
I heard a word saying, do the hard thing become easier. Choose to do an easy thing become hard.
when you are presented with a challenge, your perspective on that challenge changes everything. I used to be angry at the world for all of the things that it put in my way for me to win. Getting hit by the car. Had to wait another 2 years to start at quarterback in high school. I was supposed to start as a freshman. I was angry. Going out to Arizona State. My girlfriend, before I met my wife, was killed in a car accident. And I got that phone call at 2 a.m. Was really angry at the world. My dad got cancer and passed. It's just angry. All of those things that make you angry, when you get to an emotional state of where you're able to accept that it happened and accept that maybe that was to help you learn a lesson so that others don't have to go through that pain, that's when everything changed. I stopped being angry about what perceptually were the bad things that were happening and thought about what lesson have I learned in the past that will allow me to change the outcome of this similar challenge that I'm having. Even though emotionally I'm spun up right now, this is really affecting me. How can I change the pattern of behavior from the past to drive a different outcome?
So you will interrupt your own pattern to have a different outcome.
Exactly. Everybody has their patterns.
Yeah. But it's just so admirable that you have such acute self-awareness to see that. But not only that, you dive into deep, which is not the easiest thing to do. And through that, I see you reburst like a Venus to rebuild your life.
It's accepting, financially, we've been in a challenged state as a bootstrap. We scaled quickly. We had to scale back down. We've scaled back up. Each challenge that pops up, I can get angry about why didn't we hit these crazy goals that we should have hit. But you get what I call a case of the shoulds. And I should have done this. I should have done this. Well, you did this. And now this is the reality. And how can you make that reality better? Instead of, well, I did this and now I'm angry and woe is me. So that's the maturation, I think, over the years, that when you start to be grateful for the challenges.
Not easy.
Not easy at all.
Yeah.
Not easy at all. That's when you start to really learn. And that's when you make the decisions based on what's important to you, of what you learn and how you apply it.
I'm curious, Lucas, on this whole journey that is just so beautiful. First of all, help us see all the journey unfold in front of us. I'm curious, as today, what does success means for you? And to that, are you a success?
For some reason, that is a straight to the gut question. That's a good one.
That's why I ask.
I know you're always good at that. You always put me in my spot. I would say, am I a success right now?
What was a success, first of all?
I wanted to when I started out, I just wanted to change the way that work was connected to people, and in that order, because people will always connect to the work they want to do, but the work to be found by the people who want to do it can be a challenge. So there's in perception, there's more than one. And I said, if we just affect that, then I'm successful. And we've done that. Do I think I am personally a success? I think there's a lot more to go. I don't think that I have been successful in many, many situations. I have not won, because that's what success used to be. With who I want to be today, I feel like I am successful. Because the people that are judging the success are the family that I've built and the friends that count on what we've built, and believe that, us working together and me leading it, both the family and the work is, that for me was success, is to have that trust of the people around me that I trusted and cared for. So I think in that instance, I've been very successful.
Is there more?
It probably is. Depends on whose eyes. Let me answer it that way.
As I'm asking you that question, I'm thinking to myself, what was success for me?
Mm-hmm.
And one thing come to my mind is there's a saying called you don't win unless you play.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we are in the arena, we already won.
Yeah. And so that's really good insight. I would say that, yes, I am a success because I tried.
Yeah.
And that's actually been said to me by more than a few people, is you actually had the courage to go out.
Yeah.
When we started, my wife and I had about $100,000 in credit card debt. We had spent over $800,000 in 9 years in medical expenses. And she has, different autoimmune disorders and things like that. And, kids get sick, kids have challenges. And, I was always making good money. Since 25, I'd always made over six figures. But the amount of expenses, and, Angie was unable to work for 10 years just because of some of the things. It put me in a position where I had to make a decision where I keep trying the same thing and going and working for somebody else. I had a very high compensation when I left Manpower. OTE was 7 figures plus. And threw that all away with very little in our bank account. We owned our house, but, and again, I was 7 figures and barely making ends meet because of the way that things were set up. Getting us to that point was not, we did what we had to do to try to keep things going. There was just a moment where I said, you know what? I don't care what happens. I know this is not working. And I am going to go do the thing where I have been paid to do this work before. I know how to do it. I do it really well. There's a reason I've been successful for other people. And if I've been successful for 3 other brands doing the same thing or something similar, then why am I not doing that for myself? And then what you start to realize is people are afraid to take the first step. I don't know how. I had no clue. Like I say, I truck driver and teacher. Nobody in my family ever ran a business. They were all that, and they were the most successful of the family. So that ideation that I'm going to go do things a different way, and where's the money going to come? I don't know yet. I don't know where the money's going to come from yet. And then you start a company in January of 2020 and COVID hits. And then the whole world changes and
Ouch.
You've got no idea what's going to happen. And, we went through and we didn't close a deal until August.
8 months?
8 months. And then we closed a 7-figure deal. And from there we grew, and then we had to scale back because then sales fell off, and then we had to scale up because sales hit again. I got added to the advisory board at VMware. That had a monumental effect on our business. I still am in touch with many of the leadership there, still sit on the advisory council, do a lot of business with them. But for 8 months, we had nothing, and we were able to get by, and our belief together where, my wife helped me start the business. She ran the operations, I ran the sales. And we hired people to help after we closed deals. But for the two of us, when your back's against the wall and you're desperate, you as Yoda says, you do or you do not. Like, it's one of those two. And
well said.
I would rather go down fighting than, not.
That's the spirit.
Yeah. You get to a point where those around you who can't see the thing and you've tried explaining it to them, you still have to believe you're right. And you have to believe that you are able to do what's in your head. The moment that stops and you say, I can't do it, you're done.
It's the faith that separates from the visionary to others.
It's, how do I succeed? What is success? Who's going to tell me? Well, until you're ready to get real with yourself, and say, you know what? I've done all these great things. Still not a success because I was great by their definition. I'm going to be great by my definition, regardless of what anybody else thinks.
I think entrepreneurship is the greatest spiritual pursuit. Because at the end of the day, just you and the world. Doesn't matter your business partner, your life partner, your amazing colleague. At the end of just you and the world. Am I, in my eyes, did the right thing?
That's right.
My last question is, now seeing all that beautiful journey unfolding, I'm curious, what is one piece of advice you will give to a fellow entrepreneur who may be now or about to start a journey or in the grind, in the trenches like you were once? What would you tell them? What is one piece of thing you wish they know or you wish you know in an earlier time?
People want to help. Articulating what is important to you and your vision and your idea, and doing so to people that you don't know or would not normally articulate that to. For me, that was the first step. And the reason that I think that piece of advice is so important is you get very lonely as a founder. If you are not purposeful in seeking out the advice of others who have been through this before, this type of chase, then you are, it's going to be a whole lot harder. I have an advisor on my board who I met through a dinner, and we then got together for coffee 3 times. I didn't know what he did. I had no clue. The guy was just, he was smart. He always seemed to have, good conversation. I'd throw an idea, just talking about what's going on in life. He would too. Met 5 times. I learned this gentleman is a founder at AWS and reported to Andy Jassy, the CEO of AWS, and literal genius. One of the first leaders, C-suites at Rackspace. Like, guy is just much more wealthy than I'll ever understand. And he really just wants to help. I can call him. He'll give me advice, and he'll give me the advice that I need to hear, not that I want to hear. I have the same thing with my CTO and my current president and GM and, my wife, all of them, learning how to communicate that thing you're scared of and you have the vision, be purposeful with it, and don't be afraid if somebody doesn't understand, because somebody will. And when you get that one point of reassurance, take it and run with it.
I love that. I believe when you do the right thing, the right people always come.
I agree. You attract what you put out.
With that, Lucas, I want to acknowledge you. Thank you so much for being here, being so open and transparent. But more importantly, just, seeing not just resilience, but who you are and how you show up to this world. You rebuild yourself over and over again. You're running towards things that scared you the most with a head on, and you always in the arena. And with that, you win 1,000 times to my standards. So with that, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Wen.
But also thank you for being my friend. It's been
thank you.
such a treasure. Every single conversation, coffee meeting, dinner, lunch, always I just have new inspiration, new appreciation to who you are and how you show up to the world. And thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Wen. I appreciate you.
Amazing. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. So I cannot wait to see you all next week. Bye, guys. Ta-da! What do we think?
It was fun.
You were so good.
I'm just talking to you.
It's perfect. How do you like it?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah?
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Any feedback, concern? Is everything you like, you wanted to do?
I was trying to flow between stories and career history as part of the story.
Perfect.
But,
it's perfect.
I didn't touch on a lot of it, but
that's what I'm thinking. You should come back to the second option. Once everything closes, let's talk about a little bit hard story, but like investment, how the conversation goes.
Aspects.
Like I think we should talk about this is great first episode. If you open to like come back again, like that would be super cool.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be great.
But you did so well. I think actually very fun. Like you, the story, the business, and you, and like it just so. I think it's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
And my benchmark is every time there's a moment, I get a goosebump moment. Oh yeah, this is a good episode, and that's how I felt that.
Awesome. I feel like it'll be well received. I think it'll be some of the people on the team will be interested to listen to it.
I think they're gonna really see it's a beautiful gift because you are the gift.
Just gotta get it all done every day. That's all you can do.
And you are doing it.
I'm trying.
That's all we can do, isn't it, Lucas?
That's it.